The passenger ship Stellar Dawn floated dead in space. Its engines had stopped working 3 days ago. Captain Lisa Monroe stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. Behind her, the crew worked at their stations. Everyone was tired and worried. "Any word from Earth?" Lisa asked. "No signal yet, Captain," said the communications officer. "The rescue ship is still 2 days away." Lisa nodded. 847 passengers were on board. They had enough food and air for 5 more days. The rescue ship would arrive in time, but barely. "Captain," called out the radar operator, "I'm seeing something strange." Lisa walked over to his station. On the screen, a green dot moved toward their ship. It was big and moving fast. "What is it?" Lisa asked. "I don't know. It's not like any ship in our records." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. "How big?" "3 times our size." "And Captain, it's not human." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped working and looked at the screen. First contact with aliens had always been possible, but no one expected it to happen like this, not when they were helpless in space. "Sound general alert," Lisa said. "All passengers to safe areas. Security teams to stations." The ship's speakers came alive. "All passengers report to safe zones. This is not a drill." Jake Phillips ran down the hallway toward the cargo bay. As head of security, he needed to be ready for anything. Behind him, his team followed. They wore body armor and carried weapons, but Jake wondered if human weapons would work against aliens. The cargo bay was the biggest open space on the ship. If aliens wanted to come aboard, this would be the best place to meet them. Jake's team spread out around the room. Passengers filled the viewing area above. Dr. Amy Foster arrived with her medical team. She was the ship's doctor and also knew about alien life forms. Her hands shook as she set up her equipment. "What do you think they want?" asked Ben Rodriguez, the chief engineer. "I don't know," Amy said. "Maybe they want to help. Maybe not." Through the big windows, they could see the alien ship getting closer. It looked alive somehow. The metal seemed to flow and move like skin. No sharp edges or straight lines. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. "Captain to cargo bay," came Lisa's voice over the speakers. "They're asking to come aboard. They say they want to talk." Jake checked his weapon one more time. "Let them come." The alien ship attached to the Stellar Dawn with a soft thud. Everyone in the cargo bay held their breath. A door opened in the ship's wall where none had been before. 3 aliens walked through. Jake had seen pictures of aliens in movies and books, but this was different. These were real. They stood on 2 legs like humans, but moved like snakes. Their skin was green and covered in small scales. Their faces were long with big yellow eyes. When they opened their mouths, Jake could see sharp white teeth. The one in front was taller than the others. It wore something that looked like clothing but seemed to be part of its body. Strange symbols glowed on its chest. "I am Seth Kara," it said in perfect English. Its voice sounded like wind through leaves. "I speak for my people. We come in peace." Jake felt some of the fear leave his body. They could talk. That was good. "Welcome aboard," Jake said, stepping forward. "I'm Jake Phillips, head of security." The alien called Seth Kara looked at him with those big yellow eyes. "Your people, they are new to us. We wish to know you better." More aliens came through the door. Soon there were a dozen in the cargo bay. They moved in a way that reminded Jake of water flowing, smooth and quiet. "How did you learn our language?" Amy asked. "We have watched your signals, your television and radio waves. We learned from them." Katie Sullivan, one of the nurses, stepped forward. "Are you here to help us? Our ship is broken." Seth Kara tilted its head like a bird studying a bug. "Perhaps, but first we must know what kind of beings you are." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "In the universe, there are 2 kinds of thinking beings, those who hunt and those who are hunted. We must know which you are." The cargo bay got very quiet. Everyone looked at each other. Jake felt something cold in his stomach. "How do you find out?" he asked. Seth Kara smiled, showing all of its sharp teeth. "We test you." 3 passengers stepped forward. They were brave people who wanted to help. A man named Peter Clark went first. He was a teacher from Earth traveling to the new colonies. "I volunteer," Peter said. Seth Kara moved toward him like water flowing downhill, fast and smooth. Before Peter could react, the alien grabbed his hand and bit down on his palm. Peter screamed and pulled his hand back. Blood ran between his fingers. He fell to his knees, holding his hand against his chest. "Peter!" Amy ran to help him. A woman named Helen Davis stepped forward next. She was a farmer, strong and tough from years of hard work. "My turn," she said, but her voice shook. The same thing happened. Seth Kara bit her hand. Helen cried out and stumbled backward. Her face went white with pain. The third volunteer was a young man named Carl Brown. He worked as a mechanic and thought he was ready for anything. But when the alien's teeth sank into his palm, he fell down and couldn't get up for several minutes. Jake watched all of this happen. He saw the fear in people's eyes. He saw how they moved away from the aliens. The passengers were scared, and he couldn't blame them. But someone had to step forward. Someone had to show that humans weren't afraid. Jake walked toward Seth Kara. The alien watched him with those big yellow eyes. Around the cargo bay, everyone held their breath. "Test me," Jake said. He held out his hand. Jake held his hand steady as Seth Kara moved closer. The alien's yellow eyes never left his face. Around the cargo bay, everyone watched in silence. Seth Kara grabbed Jake's hand with fingers that felt cold and dry. The alien's grip was strong, much stronger than a human's. Jake could feel the sharp claws pressing against his skin. Then the teeth came down. The pain shot up Jake's arm like fire. He felt the alien's fangs go deep into his palm. Something hot and burning flowed into his blood. Every muscle in his body wanted to pull away and run. But Jake didn't move. He kept his hand still and looked straight into Seth Kara's eyes. The alien bit down harder, and Jake felt more of that burning liquid enter his body. His arm started to shake, but he didn't pull back. After what felt like forever, Seth Kara let go. Jake's hand was covered in blood. 2 deep holes marked where the fangs had been. The burning feeling spread up his arm and into his chest. Jake lowered his hand but kept standing straight. "Is that all?" he asked. The cargo bay was completely quiet. Even the ship's engines seemed to have stopped humming. Everyone stared at Jake like he had done something impossible. Seth Kara stepped back and made a sound like steam escaping from a pipe. The other aliens began clicking and hissing in their own language. They moved around each other in quick circles, clearly excited about something. "What's happening?" Captain Lisa asked over the speakers. Dr. Amy Foster ran to Jake with her medical kit. "Let me see that hand." Jake held out his wounded palm. The blood had already stopped flowing, but the 2 holes were deep and dark. Amy cleaned the wound and wrapped it in white bandages. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like someone stuck hot needles in my arm," Jake said. "But I'm okay." Amy looked worried. "That might be poison. We need to get you to the medical bay." "No," Seth Kara said, turning back to face them. "He will live. The test is complete." "What test?" Jake asked. "What were you looking for?" The alien leader studied him for a long moment. "In my language there is a word, Kethmar. It means one who does not run. We have traveled to many worlds and met many thinking beings. Always, they run from pain. Always, they choose themselves over others." Jake felt dizzy but kept listening. The burning in his arm was getting worse. "You did not run," Seth Kara continued. "You felt fear. I could taste it in your blood. But you did not let fear control you." "I don't understand," Amy said. "What was in that bite?" "Information," Seth Kara explained. "When we bite, we taste the chemistry of fear. We see how the mind reacts to danger. Most beings have 2 choices when afraid: fight or run away. Your people have a 3rd choice." "What's that?" Jake asked. "Stand still and think." Ben Rodriguez stepped forward from where he had been watching. "You were testing to see if we're smart or just animals." "No," Seth Kara said. "Animals can be smart. We were testing to see if you are prey or predators." The alien's words made everyone uncomfortable. Katie Sullivan spoke up from where she was helping the 3 wounded passengers. "We're not predators. We don't hunt people." "All thinking beings hunt something," Seth Kara replied. "Some hunt other beings, some hunt knowledge, some hunt safety. But only the greatest predators can hunt their own fear." Jake was starting to understand. "You wanted to see if we would panic." "Yes, prey animals panic. They run or hide or freeze. Predators think before they act. But your people, you are something new." Dr. Foster finished checking on Peter, Helen, and Carl. All 3 were okay, but their hands hurt badly. They sat in chairs and looked pale. "What makes us different?" Amy asked. Seth Kara moved closer to her. "May I test you as well?" Amy's face went white. Jake could see her hands shaking. She was scared, just like everyone else. But she nodded and held out her hand. "Amy, no," Jake said. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do," she replied. "If we're going to understand each other, someone has to be brave." The alien bit her palm just like it had bitten the others. Amy cried out in pain and her knees buckled, but she didn't fall down. She gritted her teeth and waited until Seth Kara let go. "Interesting," the alien said. "You are afraid, but you choose to help others instead of protecting yourself." More aliens came forward from the back of the group. They spoke quickly in their clicking language. Seth Kara listened and then turned back to the humans. "My people want to test more of you. Will others volunteer?" Jake looked around the cargo bay. He could see the fear in everyone's faces. But slowly, people began to step forward. First Ben Rodriguez, then Katie Sullivan, then a few passengers from the viewing area came down. One by one, they held out their hands. One by one, Seth Kara bit them and tasted their fear. And one by one, they stood still and endured the pain. Some cried. Some fell down. But none of them ran away. After testing 20 humans, the aliens gathered in a circle and spoke in their own language for several minutes. The humans waited, nursing their wounded hands and wondering what would happen next. Finally, Seth Kara turned back to face them. "We came here believing you were prey," the alien said. "Soft beings who build machines to protect themselves from the universe. We thought you would be easy to conquer." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Conquer? That is what we do. We find weak species and make them serve us. It is the way of things in this part of space." "But?" Amy asked. "But you are not prey. You are not predators either, not as we understand them. You are something else, something we have never seen before." Captain Lisa's voice came over the speakers again. "What are you saying?" Seth Kara looked up toward the bridge. "I am saying that my people have made a mistake. We thought humans were weak because you live in groups and help each other. We thought you were afraid because you try to avoid fighting." The alien paused and looked at each of the humans in turn. "We were wrong. You are not weak. You are not afraid. You choose to live together because it makes you stronger. You avoid fighting because you are confident you can win if you must." Jake thought about this. "So what happens now?" "Now," Seth Kara said, "we must decide whether to fight you or join you." The cargo bay fell silent again. Outside the windows, the alien ship waited like a sleeping giant. And somewhere in space, a human rescue ship was still 2 days away. Jake looked at his bandaged hand and then at the alien leader. "What would it take for you to join us?" he asked. Seth Kara made that sound like steam again. Jake was beginning to understand it meant the alien was thinking hard. "Your question is dangerous," Seth Kara said. "My people do not join others. We rule or we destroy." Captain Lisa's voice came through the speakers. "Then why are you talking instead of fighting?" The alien leader looked up toward the bridge. "Because your people have confused us. We studied your world before coming here. We watched your history through your radio signals." Seth Kara began walking around the cargo bay. The other aliens stayed perfectly still, but their yellow eyes followed their leader. "We saw wars between your tribes. We saw you kill each other over small pieces of land. We thought you were weak and divided. We can fight when we need to. Jake said. His wounded hand was starting to throb. Yes, but that is not what surprised us. We have seen many species that fight. What surprised us is how you fight. Dr. Amy Foster stepped closer. What do you mean? Watch, Seth Kara said. The alien made a gesture, and one of its companions came forward carrying a small device. It projected a hologram in the air above them. The hologram showed a human soldier in an old uniform. He was running across a field while explosions happened around him. But he wasn't running away from danger. He was running toward it. This human threw himself on an explosive to save his friends, Seth Kara explained. He died, but 5 others lived. The hologram changed. Now it showed a woman pulling children out of a burning building. Smoke poured around her, but she kept going back inside until all the children were safe. This human risked her life for young ones that were not even her own offspring. Another image appeared. A group of humans in spacesuits working together to fix their damaged ship while floating in the dangerous void of space. These humans chose to work in deadly conditions to save their ship and crew. Jake began to understand what the alien was saying. You're surprised that we help each other. Not just help, Seth Kara corrected. Sacrifice. Time after time, your people choose group survival over individual survival. This is not normal behavior for intelligent species. Ben Rodriguez spoke up. What do other species do? They save themselves first. It is logical. If you die, you cannot help anyone else. But humans calculate differently. The hologram changed again. This time it showed various alien species the Veilthera had encountered before. They all looked different, but they had one thing in common. When danger came, they scattered and ran in different directions. Every species we have met thinks first of self-preservation, Seth Kara explained. Even when they work together, each individual is ready to abandon the group if necessary. Katie Sullivan had been listening quietly. Now she spoke up. That doesn't sound wrong. Wanting to live is natural. Yes, it is natural. But humans seem to have evolved beyond natural instincts. You have created something we have never seen before. What's that? Amy asked. True pack mentality. Not just cooperation, but genuine willingness to die for the pack. Seth Kara gestured to the humans around the cargo bay. When I tested your people, every single one was afraid. But every single one also thought first about protecting others. The teacher who volunteered first was afraid, but he wanted to keep his students safe. The farmer woman was terrified, but she stepped forward to protect the younger passengers. Jake looked around at his fellow humans. He could see that the alien was right. Even now, after being bitten and poisoned, people were checking on each other instead of worrying about themselves. So what does this mean for us? Captain Lisa asked over the speakers. It means humans are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. The cargo bay went silent. Everyone stared at Seth Kara. Dangerous? Amy said. We're not trying to hurt anyone. That is exactly what makes you dangerous, the alien replied. A species that will die for each other cannot be defeated. A species that puts group survival above individual survival cannot be broken. Seth Kara moved to the center of the room. My people rule an empire of 47 star systems. We conquered them all by finding each species' weakness. Some were weak fighters. Some were divided by politics. Some cared more about comfort than freedom. But humans have no weakness we can exploit. You are strong fighters when you must be. You unite against common threats, and you will endure any amount of pain or sacrifice to protect each other. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying you can't beat us? I am saying that trying to beat you would cost us everything we have built. Even if we won, both our species would be destroyed in the process. The alien leader made a gesture, and more holograms appeared. These showed massive space battles between different alien fleets. Ships exploded in bright flashes of light. This is what happened when we fought the Korvashi Empire. They were strong fighters, but they fought as individuals. We could divide them and defeat them piece by piece. The hologram changed to show a different battle. This time, the ships moved together in perfect coordination. When one ship was damaged, others immediately moved to protect it. This is how humans would fight, as one mind with many bodies. We could destroy your ships, but you would never stop coming. You would rebuild and attack again, stronger than before. Dr. Foster stepped forward. So you're afraid of us? We are cautious. Your species represents something new in the galaxy, a people who have learned to truly work as one. Captain Lisa's voice came through the speakers again. What do you want from us? Seth Kara was quiet for a long moment. Around the cargo bay, humans and aliens watched each other carefully. Finally, the alien leader spoke. We want to learn from you, and we want to teach you. Teach us what? Jake asked. How to survive in a galaxy full of predators. There are species out there much worse than us, species that will try to destroy you simply because you exist. And what would you learn from us? How to be more than just predators. How to build something that lasts. How to create instead of just conquering. Ben Rodriguez looked skeptical. Why should we trust you? You came here planning to conquer us, because, Seth Kara said, you have already changed us. In one day you have shown us something we thought was impossible. A people who are stronger together than apart. The alien gestured to its companions. Look at my crew. We are individuals who happen to work together. But you are parts of something larger than yourselves. Jake looked around the cargo bay again. Despite everything that had happened, people were still helping each other. Amy was checking on the wounded passengers. Katie was handing out water. Ben was making sure everyone had a place to sit. What kind of partnership are you talking about? Jake asked. An alliance, your people and mine working together. We have technology and knowledge of the galaxy. You have something more valuable. What's that? The secret of unity. The ability to be truly stronger together than alone. Seth Kara moved closer to Jake. Will you consider it? Will you help us learn to be more than just hunters? Jake looked at his bandaged hand, then at the alien leader. Around them, humans and aliens waited for his answer. I can't speak for all humanity, Jake said. But I think most people would be willing to try, if you're really serious about changing. We are serious, and we will prove it. How? Seth Kara smiled, showing those sharp teeth again, but this time the expression didn't look threatening. By fixing your ship and getting you safely home, and by coming with you to meet your leaders. Jake held out his wounded hand toward the alien. Partners? Seth Kara looked at the offered hand for a moment, then reached out and gently shook it. Partners, the alien agreed. 3 hours after the handshake, Jake stood in the medical bay watching Dr. Amy Foster run tests on his blood. The burning feeling in his arm had gotten worse, but Amy said that was normal. The alien venom is breaking down, she explained, looking at her computer screen. Your body is learning to fight it off, but Jake, this is incredible. What do you mean? Amy showed him the test results. The venom carries information, genetic markers, stress hormones, brain chemistry patterns. When that alien bit you, it was reading you like a book. Jake flexed his wounded hand. What kind of information? Everything. How you handle fear, pain, anger, whether you're naturally aggressive or peaceful, even your intelligence level and emotional stability. Captain Lisa entered the medical bay. How is he, doctor? He'll be fine, but I need to show you both something. Amy brought up a new display on her computer. I've been analyzing the venom from all the test subjects. The aliens weren't just checking if we're prey or predators. What were they doing? Lisa asked. They were profiling us for war. The words hit Jake like a cold wave. War? Amy nodded grimly. Every piece of data they collected could be used to figure out how to fight humans. Our reaction times, our pain tolerance, how we work together under stress. But they said they want to be partners, Jake protested. Maybe they do now. But originally, they came here to study us as enemies. Captain Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. How do you know this? Because I asked Seth Kara directly. The alien, was very honest about it. The door to the medical bay opened and Ben Rodriguez came in. "Captain, you need to see what's happening in the engine room." They followed Ben through the ship's corridors. Along the way, they passed groups of passengers talking quietly among themselves. Everyone looked worried but also excited. First contact with aliens was the biggest event in human history. In the engine room, Katie Sullivan was working alongside two Valthera technicians. The aliens moved with incredible speed and precision, their scaled hands dancing over the ship's controls. "They're fixing everything," Ben said in amazement. "Problems we couldn't solve in 3 days, they've handled in 3 hours." Jake watched the aliens work. Their technology was clearly more advanced than human science. "Why are they helping us?" "Because," said a familiar voice behind them, "we need you to trust us." Everyone turned to see Seth Kara entering the engine room. The alien leader moved carefully among the human equipment. "Trust works both ways," Captain Lisa said. "Dr. Foster told us why you really came here." Seth Kara stopped working and looked at them. "Yes, we came to evaluate you as a threat. We plan to either conquer you or destroy you." "And now?" Jake asked. "Now we know that would be impossible. And more importantly, we know it would be wrong." Amy stepped forward. "What changed your mind?" "Your people did. In our culture, strength is individual. The strongest hunter rules and everyone else obeys. But humans, you are strong as a group." Seth Kara gestured to the humans and aliens working together in the engine room. "Look at this. Your people accepted our help even though you know we planned to harm you. You chose cooperation over suspicion." "We don't have much choice," Ben pointed out. "We need our engines fixed." "Exactly. You made the logical choice, but you also made the compassionate choice. You treated us as friends even though we were enemies." Katie looked up from her work. "Are you still enemies?" "No. We cannot be enemies with a people who extend their hand in friendship even when they know it will cause pain." Jake remembered the moment in the cargo bay when he had held out his hand, despite knowing what would happen. It seemed like a small thing, but apparently it had changed everything. "There's something else," Seth Kara continued. "We have been in contact with our home world. We told them about humans." "What did they say?" Captain Lisa asked. "They are sending more ships, not to attack but to study you further. The High Council wants to understand how you became so unified." Dr. Foster looked concerned. "How many ships?" "A full exploration fleet. 12 vessels with scientists, diplomats, and cultural experts." "That sounds like an invasion force," Jake said. "It could be if we wanted it to be. But we do not. We want to learn from you because we need what you have." "What do we have that you need?" Captain Lisa asked. Seth Kara was quiet for a moment. Then the alien did something unexpected. It sat down on the floor, bringing itself to eye level with the humans. "My people are dying," it said simply. Everyone stared at the alien leader. "Dying? How?" Amy asked. "We are too successful as predators. We have conquered so many worlds that we have forgotten how to create anything new. We only know how to take what others have built." "But you have amazing technology," Ben protested. "Technology we stole from other species. We improved it, yes, but we did not invent it. The last original Valthara invention was created over 1,000 years ago." Jake began to understand. "You've been living off what you've conquered." "Yes. And now we face enemies we cannot defeat through conquest alone. Species that are united like you are. They work together across many star systems, and we cannot break them apart like we did to other enemies." Katie stopped working and turned to face Seth Kara. "So you need allies, not subjects. We need teachers. We need to learn how to build instead of just taking, how to create instead of just destroying." Captain Lisa crossed her arms. "And what do we get out of this partnership?" "Survival. The galaxy is more dangerous than you know. There are species out there that make us look peaceful. Some want to harvest your genetic material. Others want to turn your planets into farms for their own people." "And you'll protect us from them?" Jake asked. "We will fight beside you against them. As partners, not as rulers." Dr. Foster had been listening quietly. Now she spoke up. How do we know you won't change your minds later? How do we know you won't decide to conquer us after all? Seth Kara stood up and moved closer to her. Because you have already conquered us. What do you mean? You conquered us without weapons or threats. You conquered us with kindness and courage. You showed us a better way to live. The alien paused and looked at each human in turn. My people are warriors, but we are tired of fighting. We want to build something that lasts. Something worth protecting instead of just another empire to maintain. And you think humans can teach you how to do that? Captain Lisa asked. I know. You can. Because you have already done it. Your species went from fighting with sticks and stones to traveling between stars, and you did it by learning to work together. Jake thought about this. Humans had indeed come a long way. From cave dwellers to space travelers in just a few thousand years. And most of that progress had come from cooperation, not conquest. What would this partnership look like? He asked. Cultural exchange. Scientific collaboration, joint colonies on new worlds, and most importantly, teaching each other. Teaching what? We teach you about the galaxy, about the dangers you will face, about technologies that can help you grow. You teach us about unity, about building societies that last, about creating instead of just taking. Captain Lisa looked around at her crew. This is too big a decision for us to make alone. This is something our governments will have to decide. Of course, but you are the first humans we have met. Your voices will matter when the decision is made. Jake looked at his bandaged hand again. Such a small action had led to such big consequences. If we do this, how do we start? We start with trust. We fix your ship and escort you safely to Earth. We meet with your leaders and show them we are serious about peace. And then we begin the hardest task either of our species has ever attempted. We learn to live together as friends instead of as predators and prey. Seth Kara extended one scaled hand toward Jake. Will you help us try? Jake looked at the offered hand. This time he knew there would be no pain, no test, no hidden agenda. Just the simple gesture of friendship between two very different peoples. He reached out and shook the alien's hand. We'll try, he said. 6 months later, Jake Phillips stood on the observation deck of the space station New Harmony. Outside the huge windows, he could see ships from a dozen different worlds. Human vessels worked alongside Valthera ships, building the first joint colony in the galaxy. His hand had healed completely, but a small scar remained where Seth Kara's fangs had pierced his palm. Jake touched the scar and smiled. That moment of pain had changed everything. Ambassador Phillips, called a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Dr. Amy Foster approaching. She now served as the head of xenobiological research for the Human Valthera Alliance. Her work studying alien biology had made first contact with other species much safer. Hello, Amy. How are the new arrivals? Nervous but curious. The Kalari delegation is very different from the Valthera. They're more like us, actually. Mammals with social structures similar to humans. Jake nodded. The Kalari were the third species to make contact with the Alliance. They had been impressed by the partnership between humans and Valthera and wanted to join. Are they ready for the greeting ceremony? Jake asked. As ready as anyone can be. Dr. Seth Kara is waiting in the main hall. Jake smiled at the title. His old friend had earned a doctorate in human psychology and was now the Alliance's expert on interspecies relations. The Valthera had embraced learning with the same intensity they had once used for conquest. They walked through the station's corridors together. The walls were lined with art from both human and Valthera cultures. Human paintings hung next to Valthera crystal sculptures. Children's drawings from Earth schools were displayed alongside mathematical formulas from Valthera universities. Jake, Amy said as they walked. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had pulled your hand away that day? Sometimes, but I don't think it would have mattered in the long run. Someone else would have stepped forward eventually. Maybe. But you were the first. That matters. They entered the main hall where the Kalari delegation was waiting. The aliens looked like tall, thin humans covered in gray fur. Their eyes were large and dark, and they moved with graceful, careful steps. Seth Kara stood near the center of the room, now wearing the blue robes of a diplomatic scholar instead of military gear. When the Valthera saw Jake, it made the sound that Jake now knew meant happiness. "My friend," Seth Kara said in perfect English. "Are you ready for another first contact?" "Always," Jake replied. "Though I hope this one goes more smoothly than ours did. All first contacts are difficult, but we have learned much about making them better." The Kalari leader, whose name was Morvek, stepped forward. Like Jake 6 months ago, Morvek looked nervous but determined. "Ambassador Phillips," Morvek said in slightly accented English, "we have studied the records of your first meeting with the Valthara. We understand that physical contact is part of your greeting ritual." Jake exchanged a look with Seth Kara. They had developed new protocols for first contact that didn't involve biting and venom, but the idea of physical contact as a trust-building exercise had remained. "It doesn't have to be," Jake said gently. "We can greet each other however you're most comfortable." "No," Morvek replied firmly. "We want to do this properly. We want to show that we trust you." The Kalari leader held out a furred hand. Jake could see that it was shaking slightly. "You don't have to prove anything to us," Jake said. "Trust is built over time, not in a single moment." "But moments matter," Morvek said. "Your moment of courage 6 months ago created this alliance. Perhaps our moment can create something new as well." Jake looked around the room. Representatives from human colonies throughout space were watching. Valthera diplomats stood ready to welcome new partners. And now the Kalari were asking to join this growing family of worlds. "What do you propose?" Jake asked. Morvek gestured to his delegation. "Each of our peoples will greet each of yours, not with pain, as the Valthera did, but with openness. We will share something personal about ourselves, something that makes us vulnerable." Seth Kara stepped forward. "An interesting adaptation of our original ritual. Instead of testing for strength through pain, you test for strength through honesty." "Exactly. It takes courage to be vulnerable with strangers." Jake thought about this. The original Valthera test had been about enduring physical pain. This new version was about enduring emotional discomfort. Both required the same kind of bravery. "I think that's a wonderful idea," Jake said. He held out his hand to Morvek. "My name is Jake Phillips. I used to be a security officer, but I became a diplomat by accident. The hardest thing about my job is that I'm always afraid of making mistakes that could hurt people I care about." Morvek took Jake's hand and shook it gently. "My name is Morvek. I am the youngest leader my people have ever chosen. I'm afraid that I'm not wise enough to guide my species into this new age of cooperation." "Fear is normal," Jake said. "The important thing is that you don't let it stop you from trying." One by one, the Kalari and Alliance representatives introduced themselves and shared something personal. Amy talked about her fear of not being smart enough to understand alien biology. Ben Rodriguez admitted that he worried about human technology being inferior to alien science. When it was Seth Kara's turn, the Valthara diplomat surprised everyone. "I am Seth Kara," the alien said to a young Kalari scientist. "I used to believe that strength came from being alone and superior to others. My greatest fear now is that I will never fully understand what it means to be part of a community, instead of just ruling over one." The Kalari scientist, whose name was Yara, nodded thoughtfully. "I am Yara. I study the stars, but I have never been away from my homeworld before. I am afraid that I will never be brave enough to explore the galaxy like my heroes did." "Bravery isn't about not being afraid," Seth Kara replied. "It's about being afraid and exploring anyway." The ceremony continued for an hour. By the end, humans, Valthara, and Kalari were talking together in small groups, sharing stories and asking questions about each other's worlds. Jake watched from the side of the room, feeling proud of how far they had all come. The Alliance now included over 30 star systems. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Scientists collaborated on projects that would have been impossible for any single species to complete alone. But most importantly, they had all learned something that none of them had known before: Different peoples could work together without losing what made them unique. Humans were still human, with their pack mentality and willingness to sacrifice for others. Valthara were still Valthara, with their individual strength and predatory instincts. But together, they had become something greater than the sum of their parts. Captain Lisa Monroe, now Admiral Monroe and head of Alliance Fleet Operations, approached Jake. "Good ceremony," she said. "The Kalari seem like they'll fit in well." "I think so too. They're curious and brave but not aggressive. They'll balance out some of our more warlike tendencies." Lisa laughed. "Warlike? Us? I thought we were the peaceful species." "We are, but we're also the ones who volunteer to get bitten by poisonous aliens and shake hands with beings who could tear us apart. I'm starting to think peaceful and crazy brave might be the same thing." Across the room, Seth Kara was showing a group of Kalari children how Valthara crystal art worked. The aliens' hands moved gracefully, shaping light into beautiful patterns. The children watched in wonder, asking questions faster than the translator could keep up. "You know what I like most about all this?" Lisa said. "What's that?" "6 months ago we were a broken ship waiting for rescue. Now we're building a new civilization. All because you were too stubborn to pull your hand away when it hurt." Jake touched his scar again. "It wasn't stubbornness, it was just the right thing to do. That's what makes it special. You didn't think about being heroic or making history. You just did what needed to be done." A young human reporter approached them. "Ambassador Phillips, could I ask you a question for my story?" "Of course. Do you ever regret that moment on the Stellar Dawn? Your decision to let the alien bite you?" Jake looked around the room again. Humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge, building something beautiful and lasting. Children from different worlds playing together and learning from each other. "Never," he said. "Sometimes the best things in life start with a little pain." The reporter smiled and moved on to interview other people. Jake stayed by the window, watching ships from different worlds work together in the dark of space. Seth Kara joined him at the window. "What are you thinking about, my friend?" "The future. A year ago, humans thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're part of something bigger than we ever imagined. And it all started with trust. Trust and friendship," Jake corrected. "The willingness to reach out even when you don't know what will happen." Seth Kara extended a scaled hand toward Jake. Not for a test this time, not for a greeting ceremony, but simply as a gesture of friendship between two people who had learned to understand each other. Jake took the hand without hesitation. No pain, no fear, no uncertainty. Just the simple connection between friends who had chosen to build something together instead of tearing each other apart. Outside the window, more ships were arriving. New species coming to join the alliance, drawn by the promise of cooperation instead of conquest. Each one would bring new challenges, new opportunity.